Good morning, Christ United Methodist Church. It's been quite a year, and I've been in the sanctuary one time since last March. It is good to be back here. We miss seeing the faces in the pews, and hopefully we'll all be back together again very shortly in time. What a year we have experienced, but we have bound together as a community of faith. In the midst of a pandemic, the church still stands. We give thanks to God for our pastor and our staff and those who have kept this church alive in these difficult times. Pastor Jake is on vacation and will be back next week, and our prayers are with he and his wife Emily for a time of renewal away. There are a few announcements this morning. Next Sunday, when Pastor Jake returns from vacation, he'll be leading us in a 4-week sermon series that focuses on the last week of Jesus' life and the significance that these events hold for us today. The series title is taken from the old hymn, "Were You There?" From the Last Supper table all the way to the torture that took place right before Jesus' crucifixion. We'll find that even though we may not have been on the scene, we were very much on the Lord's mind. Pastor Jake is excited to deliver this, and we pray you'll be equally as excited to receive it. The second announcement is that we ask you be mindful of our weekly Wednesday check-in via Zoom. Each week, the church sends out a Zoom invitation to anyone who desires to join us for a time of prayer, dialogue, spiritual reflection, and honest conversation that will give you the spiritual fuel you'll need to carry you through the week. If you're one who wants that time, contact us via Facebook or the church webpage, and we'll make sure you get plugged in. Now let us prepare our hearts and minds for worship in this Lenten season, and as we listen to the bell choir, offering us a time of reflection and centering as we spiritually prepare. Thank you to the bell choir. As Christians, we are called to care for those who hunger and thirst, who have no place to lay their head, the least, the lost, the lonely. We have a treasure in the Wheeling area, in the House of the Carpenter, that provides ministries every day to help those in need. This morning, we are excited to welcome Julie Polly, who joins us from the House of the Carpenter, located on Wheeling Island. As many know, Christ Church works very closely as a partner with the House of the Carpenter, as it offers many services to the Ohio Valley, all in the name of the gospel. Julie has served as the thrift store manager since 2014. She brings a great deal of compassion and faith, as well as strong leadership to her ministry. Her degree in computers is a major asset in managing the House of the Carpenter's database. She also works with a wide variety of agencies, helping people fulfill obligations and provides many opportunities for service. She helps people find items they need and guides the thrift store volunteers to minister in a very caring and compassionate manner. Please join me in welcoming her as she brings our message this morning.
Good morning, church, and thank you for having me here. A couple weeks ago, whenever Mike asked me to step out of my comfort zone of the HOC and come over and speak to the church, we started kind of having a conversation about what I say and how it might look and what I wanted to say. And if any of you all know Mike, you know he's a storyteller, and so he started with the story and was starting to tell me about this story about how years ago he had this opportunity to work with this great group of people and how they became this group that introduced individual kids to crawling around in dark and muddy places in these caves. Sophisticated people might call this spelunking. We're going to call it caving. So he started telling me about how one of his favorite holes was in this, was underground in these Bowdoin cave networks, which is apparently outside of Elkins. Now, I've never been there, but when you're talking about caving, I have some stories there myself. And he was talking about how it was a relatively easy crawl, and they would take this group of kids through this crawl, and they'd end up in this large cavern. And in this cavern, they would separate the kids so that they couldn't touch each other, and they would sit them all down so that they were safe and they weren't moving and running into things. And they would help them understand how deep they were, that they were 3,500 feet under the ground and away from the sun, and then they would introduce them to total darkness, or a complete absence of light. And when he was talking about this, I remember my 6th grade class trip. I remember going to Mammoth Caves in Kentucky, because I'm just a little Kentucky girl. And I remember being that kid who went through these caves, through this dark and mud and water. And I remember being that kid that they sat down in this large cavern. It was just this huge room underground. I remember sitting down, and they led us, and they said, okay, now all of the students turn out your lights. So we all turned out the lights that we had. And then they said, okay, we're going to turn out some more lights. Who's afraid of the dark? Me, I'm afraid of the dark. So then all the teachers and all the leaders turned out their lights, which led our guide to being the only light in this big cavern. And so, you know, a whole bunch of crazy 6th graders were all oohing and gooing and squealing, and then the leader turns out their light, and it's pitch black. Complete absence of light. So once everybody's done squealing and carrying on, they start asking questions. So how do you feel? So Mike remembered some of his responses he heard. His responses that he heard were, well, I know there are people around, but right now it feels lonely because I don't know where anybody else is. Or I feel like I'm upside down. I don't have any sense of direction. I remember my response. My response was afraid. Without any light, I'll never be able to move. So, these are some pretty powerful words, from some kids crawling around in the mud and through caves. But I want you to listen to these powerful words that are given to us today. Matthew 5:14 through 16. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all those in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others so they may see the good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. So after all the kids' comments, they would light one candle, and just one candle in a massive space. But that one light would shine so bright that you could start seeing faces around you and recognizing them. You could see the rocks on the ground and the stream running, and you could actually see to make the journey back towards the surface in the sunshine. One little light in that dark place literally changed the whole world. As a church, when we hear the words of the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, the blessed are those, we think Jesus is addressing the church. Eventually, this will become the foundation of our discipleship. But on the day he spoke on the hillside, he was talking to people of Judea. They were stressed and divided people. Judea at that time was occupied by Rome, a foreign power, with the soldiers capable of enforcing their will. It really didn't matter what people wanted. It was all about what the Romans wanted and what they could take. So the people of Judea adopted ways of responding to the occupation that put them at odds with one another. Some specifically, the Sadducees had spent a lifetime carrying and leading worship in the temple. So they wanted to cooperate with the Romans so that they could continue to worship and that the operation in their temple could go on. But not everyone agreed. There were the Zealots, whose sworn oath was to murder any Roman soldier or official and everyone who collaborated with them. There were the Essenes, who just wanted to escape it all, so they moved their small commune into the desert to focus on personal spirituality. And another group was the Pharisees. These were lay people who wanted to focus more on the synagogue. But even they were split. Some of them wanted to spiritualize when they read it in Scripture, and others wanted to make it a rule book that dictated what you could and could not do. You could sense the tension in the air. Which was the right way? What should we do? Cooperate, overthrow, spiritualize, retreat into the desert? Jesus, what do you want us to do? His answer, just shine. Reflect the light and the love of God through who you are and what you do. Drawing on the Beatitudes, be humble and gentle, seek what is righteous and loving in God's eyes. Be merciful, be pure in heart, be peacemakers. In other words, in a confused and mixed up world, walk into it regardless of your affliction and embody the light. Shine in the world that is so in desperate need of light. And that's what a huge part of our mission is. As we carry light forward, we need to understand that poverty and addiction, physical, emotional, verbal abuse, trafficking, hunger, isolation, separation, all lead to children believing that this is normal, that everyone is like this. These realities suck the life out and leave children in the same place that those kids in the cave were, in the dark, disoriented and confused and fearful with no direction. So we, as communities of faith, begin to talk about our mission. We tend to automatically gravitate towards a program. We need a new program, a new way to do things, a fresh perspective, a new approach. And while that may be true, we need to first approach with our light. We can't carry our light and berate the store employees. We can't carry our light and be unscrupulous in our work. We can't carry our light and condone racism. And the list goes on. Our mission begins with carrying light into the world. But then there are the programs and the events that are missional in nature, like your backpack program and your scouting program. These are missional. And in giving your support, missions locally and around the world, that is helping to shine your light. At the House of the Carpenter, we've learned the one key element to missional care, our missional programs, is care. People have to know that we love and we care for them before they come to us. People have to know that you are loving and accepting of them before they'll seek us out. So whether it's a program like the food pantry or the thrift store, we talk to our neighbors and we get to know them. And we let them know that we love them. Whether it's in our educational activities, we know that we have to let them know that they are important and that they are cared for. So I'm going to finish out by telling you about one of our House of the Carpenter kids. This young lady is now 23 years old. She grew up with a single mom. And as a single mom, she was brought into the food pantry with her mom. She came to the thrift store. They had to get utility assistance. But this young lady also went to our camps. And so it was there. It was through all of these services that she learned that people genuinely cared. That these people were beyond her family. She was encouraged and given hope and passion. And this year, she's going to graduate from college with a degree in social work. But you need to hear this story that she has. When she was a junior in college, she became the foster parent to her niece and nephew. As a young mom, I can't imagine what she was when she, as a college student, took on that responsibility of 2 children. But she remembered the care that was given to her. The first weekend she had her niece and nephew, they came home with a food bag from Madison Elementary. And she remembered the care. So, at Madison, the niece was being cared for and encouraged by one of her very devout teachers, and the niece received an award recognizing her efforts. And this young girl, who's now in middle school, looks at that plaque every single day and says, I will be that person. It was a variety of programs and a myriad of people who work together in faithful witness to what Jesus envisioned, that have supported these folks and contributed to life-changing growth. They brought light into a place that is lonely, scary, isolating, making you feel like you're upside down and that you might never get out. The early disciples were accused of many things for taking Jesus' words seriously. One of my favorites is that when they were accused of turning the whole world upside down. So may our light shine so that in this world, as individuals, in events, in programs, that lives may be uplifted, recreated, and gifted to shine like never before. May we be accused of turning the world upside down through faith, love, and hope. Never forget that shining your light changes the world of those around you. Thank you, church.
Thank you, Julie. That was a wonderful message, reminding us of being light to others and how that planting seeds continues on through others. Thank you so much. We thank Julie for her work and for the House of the Carpenter. And if anyone would like to support the ministries of the House of the Carpenter with a love offering, you can go to thehouseofthecarpenter.com and click donate or send contributions to their address, 200 South Front Street, Wheeling. Thank you again for your message today. We have some praises to lift up. We give thanks for all those who have helped Holly McCutcheon and her son Junior. Because of your support for her, along with the help of her home church in Arizona, Holly has been able to secure housing and transportation so she can complete her nursing degree this year, and that's a praise. We also give thanks to God for Christ Church's support of our backpack program, which is now up and running, and we're packing and delivering approximately 85 meals to local kids attending Elm Grove and Middle Creek elementary schools. We also give praises that many of our people are starting to be vaccinated, and perhaps there is a light at the end of this tunnel that we can all be together again. There are petitions we lift up today to remember those who have been devastated by the freezing temperatures in Texas and all around our country and our state. And a reminder that as United Methodists, we're a global body that stretches around the world. And because of our connection as United Methodists, we're able to be in numerous places at once. One of the ways that we are the hands and feet of Jesus in faraway places is through our disaster relief organization, UMCOR. And they are on the ground now helping those around our country and into our world. You can also support UMCOR and with an advance, and that mailing address is on your screen, and the contributions go directly to aid for others. In our prayers, we also remember Barb Pico, Connie Meyer, and Ellie Phillips, and all those who grieve loss due to COVID. We also remember Mike Linger, the director of the House of the Carpenter, as he recovers from knee surgery, as well as those recovering from recent hospitalizations and procedures. I would like to invite the bell choir to come back up for the next. We invite anyone tuning in. You can also contact the church office or the web page with any other prayer requests so we continue to be accountable to one another. Will you please pray with me? Gracious and loving God, on this rainy Sunday morning, we lift our hearts to you. We worship you, the God of all seasons, times, and places. We lift our hearts in praise for the many ways you move in our world, helping to bring order out of chaos, peace out of violence, love out of discord, light in the darkness. We praise you for our homes and our families, our friends and co-workers, and for this church community and the church into the world. We do not live in isolation, but, oh God, many of us are indeed isolated. Be with us and break through our loneliness, separateness, and lack of human connection. We look forward to the days of reunions, meals together again, sanctuaries filled with singing and hugs and children's laughter. Thank you for bringing us through as we still wait for the glimpse of the new day. In this Lenten season, O God, we ask your forgiveness for all the times and places we have not been our best selves. We have sinned and fallen short of all you call us to be. Heal us, forgiving God, so we may be loving witnesses of your love and grace. We lift up to you our brokenness, but also the brokenness of this world. Divisions, walls, hatred, prejudice, bigotry, lived out within us and around us. Help us to be instruments of your peace in the work for justice and righteousness. Be with all those who are hurting this morning, those who are sick, those who are tired, those who are in hospitals and hospice care, those who are grieving the loss of a loved one, those who are alone, those who are hungry and homeless, those who struggle with addiction, the poor, the needy, our children. We lift them all up to you, O God. Help us to love and serve you, that we can help recreate a world of loving kindness, and help us all to walk in faith, hope, and love, and help us all to bring the light of God to others, to be that light in the darkness as we follow in the footsteps of Jesus this Lenten season. And let us now pray together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. May we all go forth this week, no matter where we are, no matter what we are doing, to bring light to this broken world. Thanks be to God for the light that guides us, that surrounds us when we are afraid, when we are hopeless, when we are tired. That light of Christ is here. Thanks be to God.